All right, cool.
Sweet.
I actually kind of want to try something new.
All right.
I don't usually start the podcast this way, but this is how I want to try. I want to set a scene.
Okay.
I want to set a scene. So picture yourself.
All right.
I'm with Tobe Williams. He's a DJ. He's got millions of views on Spotify. I also went to high school with him. He's a soccer player, D1 soccer player, rugby player, and he's only 20 years old. So he's doing all this crazy stuff at such a young age. And I want to start this podcast by putting you in a mental scene. This hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
But picture this. You just went first EDC. You freaking killed it. The crowd, for those of you who don't know, EDC is like one of the biggest EDM festivals ever, right?
Unreal, yeah.
First EDC, well, let's say you're 22, you're coming off the stage, you're just on this high. You go to bed that night after probably some crazy after party. All your friends are congratulating you. Girls are coming up to you. You wake up the next day, your DMs are flooded. Your text messages are flooded. More messages than you've ever gotten in your life. And all these people that you haven't talked to, they're now interested in you. They want to talk to you. They want to interact with you. And you're trying to think back, damn, if these people knew all the work I did, if these people knew all the hours I put into this, and you remember 2 years ago, I filmed the podcast. I hadn't made it yet. This is that podcast. This is
the scene. This is what I'm going to look back to.
Yeah, this is the scene. So put yourself in that mindset. It's funny because I like to start off every podcast with my why behind the show, which is that I want to inspire people to invest in soul wealth. So not the classic wealth, which is building up your money, possessions, and achievements, but soul wealth, which is investing in your relationships and creating memories. And it's funny because I just made the whole EDC scene, which is like an achievement. But hold up, I just want to make sure this is actually. Can you talk in the mic?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
This is where perfect.
This thing's like off. That's why it was geeking me.
Oh, okay. Word.
All right. So this is the scene. I want to first start off by you're 20 years old. You've traveled abroad to do shows. You've done it in your hometown in DC. You played D1 soccer. You played rugby. You have a social life. How do you balance all these different things?
Dude, it's kind of crazy. I mean, it really kind of boils down to priorities at the end of the day. Like what I make sure, because I like to journal. So I like to journal, set my priorities, what I'm gonna get done. So it's kind of just like, setting those priorities of what's most important to me, and then focusing on that, and then getting the next thing done. So it's kind of just keeping it those priorities.
How do you what does like journaling look like for you? You don't strike me as a journaler.
Yeah, no. To be honest, like I just started that the past year, just because like when I was because I went to school in DC.
Yeah.
And I was in DC, I was playing soccer, which was taking like 5 or 6 hours out of my day, and then still taking classes and trying to do music. So with like I was really struggling, falling behind in music side, and then my soccer wasn't great, my grades weren't great. So it kind of was just like, okay, like this week I'm going to prioritize this, next week I'm going to prioritize that. So I would kind of like write 3 things down that I'm going to get done for the week, and then that's what I would focus on. So,
have you ever heard the like quote, like jack of all trades, master of none?
Yeah.
How do you? I don't feel like that's true for you though, because I mean, you're balling in
fairness, it's true. It's true a little bit, because like I would say like my senior year of high school, I was focusing like all in on soccer.
Yeah.
So I like got like to a good level, and I got a scholarship to play Division I. And then I would say like prior to that and post that, I was a lot more focused on music.
Yeah.
And then when I was more focused on music, I started doing a lot more shows, and I started doing a lot more streams. So I would say it's a little bit of both. But I mean, it's just like, it's hard to cut out things that I enjoy so much in my life. So
I'll give you like an example. I have really bad shiny object syndrome, which is like, I don't know if I exactly call what you're doing shiny object syndrome, because shiny object syndrome is generally described as like, you always want to do the next thing, but you generally give up on the last thing. So it's like, I started vlogging 4 years ago, and then I tried acting for a little bit. I tried stand-up comedy for a little bit, and now I'm filming podcasts.
What hit the most?
Right. I mean, right now I'm freaking loving the podcast. Okay. That's what everyone with shiny object syndrome says.
Yeah.
But I used to see it as a really big failure of mine, because I would like think to myself, I'd be like, damn, if you just put all your effort into
the one
YouTube,
thing,
you would have succeeded. But now I don't see it that way. And the reason why is that I listen to all these podcasts, success stories. I read a lot of books, and like people always say like, I wish I wasn't in such a rush to succeed. I wish I wasn't in such a rush to make $1 million. I wish I had done more things. And so I'm like, sometimes I'll compare myself to someone like you, and I'm like, dude, this guy has millions of streams and he's younger than me. But a lot of times I'm like, dude, I'm just living life. I'm doing a lot of things, and I'd rather look back in 10 years with less money and be like, I did all these things, than kill it in one area and then just like lose all that excitement.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like the biggest thing I've tried to focus on is like the process of everything.
Yeah, the journey.
It's like you said, like you get too caught up in like, oh, the next thing, what's the next thing? And then, which I've done 100% of the time. Like I have one song that's doing well or did well, Deep Youth. And then for like, cause it's been out now for about a year and a half. For a full year after that, it was, how do I beat this next song? How do I beat this song? How do I beat the song? Instead of just enjoying it, like, dude, this isn't the music like I want to make. And I kind of went through a phase of like, what am I doing? Like I've spent like hundreds of hours on making new music, and like I hate all of it. And it was like kind of like going back to like the drawing board and like, okay, like what do I want to make? What do I enjoy making? And then like the past like couple of months have been like that sort of journey for myself of like, okay, this is what I want to do moving forward. So I feel that it's always like, how do I beat the next thing? How do I beat the next thing? So
I just saw a quote that's so related to what you said in a book. And it basically said, if you're making art and you see it as like, I don't like this, but it will perform well.
Yeah.
Then it's not art, and that's commerce. And that's,
I didn't even think about that.
That's
good.
fine.
That's good.
But it's not like
it's not like a true representation of yourself.
It's not like, it's probably not as fulfilling. But if you're a businessman, you're a lot of people on TikTok do something like that, where maybe they dance for little girls on TikTok. It's like, maybe they're passionate about it, but chances are they're just doing it because it makes them money. And who am I to hate on them? But I don't think I would call
it art.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, but I wouldn't say it's like an art form.
But yeah, and I do think though, in the long run, when you do stuff that's like aligned with you, it will ultimately perform better. Like actually in that same chapter of what I just referenced, it says like the best indicator if someone will like something is if you like it yourself. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's also like knowing, obviously, like doing what you want, doing what you like, and like making that true representation with like of yourself within art form. But I would say it's also like consistency, because it's like for me, it was like, that's been the biggest thing that's like helped and hurt. When I'm not consistent, it doesn't, go over well for me. When I continue to be consistent, then that kind of helps and hits.
I agree. I think that too, like, because I mean, this podcast is focused on soul wealth, and it's so easy to like not feel like I'm a YouTuber because I've never had a viral video. I've never popped off. But what I was telling this other YouTube girl is that like, the second you post, you are a YouTuber. But I think what people should really like look at themselves and ask is if they're consistent, if they control the metrics that are within their control, which is, am I consistent? Do I post videos? Like it really is just consistency. It's like
I mean, you kind of see that too with like see small YouTubers or whatever. I mean, I have a friend that does it. And he doesn't get massive posts, but he's consistent with it, and he still makes a living off of it just because he's consistent, and he gets that, it's not like a crazy living, but just by having consistency. I'll have one video that'll kind of support him for a little bit, and then it's, maybe 6 videos later, but that's just kind of how it is.
Wait, so I want to touch on this Deep Youth song.
Okay.
Actually, there's a couple things I want to ask you.
Okay.
First of all, nevertheless, you did that. Is that like, are you guys still like a group, or? No, I don't want the drama thing. I'm just curious if you're gonna do more songs.
No. I wouldn't say. It was funny. I literally had a conversation about this with my manager like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So nevertheless I started making, just backstory. Yeah. I started making music when I was like 12 years old. So back then when I started making, because it was electronic music.
Yeah.
In middle school, even like young years of high school, like freshman, sophomore year, no one was listening to or 11 years old actually. No one was listening to EDM though. So everyone was like rap music or alternative rock or whatever in bands. So I was like always like made music by myself, did solo thing for a while.
Wait, how did you? Sorry to cut you. How did you like even have the idea of like making this kind of music when you were 12? Because Like it didn't exist. Like, was it like from your
Well, it was like
parents?
I saw these videos of Martin Garrix
Yeah.
when he was like 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
And he had like a show. It's still on YouTube. I don't think they're making it anymore.
Yeah.
But it was like they had a show of like how he made music and like him touring and traveling. And I was like, dude, I love his music so much. Like, this is so sick. Like, this is amazing. Like, I've never heard music like this. Like, none of it has lyrics. Like, this is dope. Like, this is crazy. So I started like trying to make music, and my mom was like, dude, I'm not paying $300 for software, and you're gonna, because I would like, no, like when you're 10 years old, you like get little race cars, and you'd be like done with it after a week, and you get something else, and she was like, this is gonna be your new favorite thing for a week, and then you're never gonna touch it. Like, I'm not paying $300 for this.
Yeah.
So I was like, Mom, please, for my birthday. So I got the software, I started making music, and that's kind of how I started.
Dude, that's crazy. I literally thought that like your dad was a DJ or something, because I was like, how can you start when you're 12? Like, you really just found it.
And then it was like, and then it was obviously like continuous, like a building thing. But yeah, back to the nevertheless thing.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting reached out to by these guys from LA. They had a music group called Pure.
Yeah, I did go to one of their events.
Okay, yeah. So they started doing a bunch of, you went to pop-up shows. Yeah. They started doing pop-up shows, and then the guy that helped run it, or there's two kind of head guys, but one of the guys kind of that helped ran it, he reached out to me and he was like, hey, you want to come up, blah, blah, blah. So I had all this music that I hadn't finished, and he was like, you want to collab? And we got along great. So we would hang out all the time. And so he's like, dude, let's make like a group kind of project. So I started Deep Youth, and then I came over. They had a house. They had a Pure house. Yeah. Came over to the house. I was like, what do you guys think of the song? And that guy, Diego, he's like, dude, let's collab on this. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. So we finished the song, and then we ended up doing another song, and then he went over to Europe. So he's in Europe, so we haven't hung out anymore.
Because I was going to say, bro, that's your biggest song, and then you just like never fall. You had one other song on that.
Nevertheless, yeah. I mean, it did well, but it was a little bit separate towards the music I wanted to make. Yeah. And so I was in like a house phase for a while, which I still kind of am, but it was like very like basic like house music kind of vibe. Yeah. And I mean, obviously it did pretty well. Yeah. But I didn't like love the vibe, and I was kind of making the sound, and then Diego was kind of helping mix and master the track. Yeah. So I don't know.
Then you ultimately just decided like it's not what you want to make, so even though it got more views, you
I mean, yeah, like it doesn't, for me, it's like it goes back to that thing of like
we're trying.
Yeah. Like it didn't, none of that like kind of like made like because I did start making other songs similar to that, and I have like a private SoundCloud list of like 30 tracks that are like exactly the same that I'm never gonna release, because it's just like, for me it was like, it's all right, it might do well, it might not, but like it's not what I like, the music that I like, and like not the music that I really enjoy making. And so like I didn't want to set an expectation of like, oh, he's like releasing all this stuff, and I like put myself in like a trap almost. I have to keep making and releasing stuff that I don't want to make. So
that's crazy that you had the vision to do that, because I feel like, I mean, I don't know how much money you made off Deep Youth, but probably the most money that
it definitely made me a little bit of money for sure.
And that's like, I'm impressed that you were like not just like, all right, let's throw another one. Let's throw another, because I feel like you're young too, so like a lot of people young, they start doing that.
I mean, so I ended up doing like a vocal edit of the song. I added some secrets to the track, and it did.
That's fine too. But
yeah. I mean, it did the money part of it once I saw like, because it normally you get paid out like 3 or 4 months after the song gets released. So like it's like 3 or 4 months delayed in terms of paying out. So when I got the first paycheck back, I was like, because like none of my other songs were like anywhere near that. I was like, is that really like the amount? I was like, this, and I was getting, obviously I split it 50-50 with him. So if I released it by myself, it would have been like double the amount of what I got. And I was like, damn, no way.
That's crazy.
And what was crazy, it was like a self-release too. So normally like when a song does like that, you normally release it with a label. Yeah. So like it wasn't with
wasn't with the label.
No, it was like no label. It was just like 2 TikTok videos going crazy on TikTok. Yeah. And then that's how we got like majority of the streams, and then Spotify algorithms picked it up, and then like it got on playlists, and then it started doing well after that.
TikTok marketing is crazy. Like it's changing.
Crazy.
I want to ask you a question. This might be like a noob question, but when you're a DJ and you release a song with vocals that aren't your own, but it doesn't say featuring, where do you get those vocals? Yeah.
So there's like 2 or 3 ways you can get them. There's like sound banks, or like things like Splice, where you have all these basically generic vocals that people basically can subscribe to, and Splice will update singers to like send in new vocals, so they're like copyright free, so anyone can use them on their tracks. So that's where a majority of people you get their vocals. It's just like these.
So it's like a paid service.
So like it's like a subscription fee, and you can download basically vocals that are royalty or
royalty free.
Like you can use them for anything, like new music or videos or whatever, and they're not going to get copyrighted. The other way, which I've actually done another way, is I've used that once or twice on one of my songs, and then I've also like paid a singer. Sometimes if some singers just want to get paid out and don't want their name associated with it, so they want an immediate pay. Like, say you're a singer, I pay you $300, you sing for my song. Your vocals, like your name's not like on the song, but like I get to keep it on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting.
So some singers like want that immediate payout, and so like I've done that before too. Like paid a singer $300 who's like quote unquote a big name, so they like. They don't know if the song's going to hit. They don't know the marketing strategy that you have. And they're like, it's too much of a risk to put my name on the song, so just pay me and then you can have my vocals.
Do they ever hear it and they're like, yeah, I want to keep my vocals on there? Like, this shit's fire.
This happened to one of my friends, and he like almost got sued because of this. So I guess they had like an agreement that he was going to pay this girl like $500.
Yeah.
And the song goes out. It does really well.
Yeah.
And she's like, I need you to put my name on the song. He's like, no, like I paid $500. Like, I'm not putting your name on the song. And then I guess there was like a clause in their like written agreement that like it said like
if it gets
there was like some shit where like they can put their name back. Am I allowed to cuss, by the way?
Yeah, you can cuss.
Okay. So if I put your name back, like whatever. So he ended up almost getting sued, and then she's just like, all right, I'll put the name back on, like it's fine.
Damn. Yeah.
So. Yeah, the vocals things is sometimes a challenge too, because like I've had people where like vocals don't fit.
Yeah.
And you have to like kick the vocalist off the song to bring another vocalist in. And it was like a group project. It was like me and two other producers.
Yeah.
And then this singer came in, and she was all right, but she did not fit the track at all. Mm-hmm. And we had to be like,
damn.
Yeah.
Like, that sucks. It's like hurting.
Yeah. Like it's. At the end of the day, like, it is art, but we also, like, want to have it perform. Like, we want our art to be, like, as the best quality as possible.
Well, yeah, and...
So it's
I mean, that's, like, not even... You're also making something that's true to you. So it's if you don't like it, you don't want to just post it because it's someone's feeling.
Yeah.
I actually think that a lot of people would respect that in the long run.
No, I mean, we talked to her, and it was cool. I ended up having to talk to her because the two other guys didn't want to deal with it.
Right.
So I was like, hey, I'm really sorry about this. I just we don't think the vocals really like fits that well. And then I ended up still working on like another track with that singer, so it's fine.
Yeah, because that was what I was gonna say. Is like, if you have like the respect to be like, yeah, you don't fit this song, I feel like then you like save the future relationship.
Yeah.
Like if you're just like put out the song, but you hate it, and then you're like, I'm never gonna work with this person again. Then it's like, I feel like, and that's not even just a music thing. Generally, like when you can be honest and you can like have the hard conversations. There's another quote I like. I'm a big quote guy. It basically says like, I think it's Tim Ferriss. It says like you can measure one's success by their ability to have difficult conversations.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, I think those difficult conversations kind of save you in the long run too.
Yeah,
they say, because there's conversation. I mean, I've had multiple times where I've pushed back conversations, and it fucks me in the ass like 2 months later.
Like a girl shit. That's what I always it immediately makes me think girl shit. You're like, oh, I don't know if I should be with this person. You're like, I'll figure it out later.
Yeah, and then it just fucks you so far along. Yeah, which makes it 10 times worse too.
Wait, I did want to ask you. So since you're 20, I was actually gonna go to one of his shows like a week ago, and the club was like, hey, we can't have a 20-year-old perform.
Well, so we told them prior, and most of the clubs know.
Yeah.
Some clubs just don't. Like some clubs like no, but don't ask.
Yeah.
So like I've had one club like, don't show me your ID, just like walk in.
Yeah. That's so funny,
It was a club in DC, and I ended up DJing for them like 6 or 7 times. But they were like, I remember I got up to the bouncer, and like the owner stops me and he's like, dude, just go inside. I was like,
he's like trying to help me get to his bouncers.
No, I think it was like the manager or something. He's like, don't go and show your ID ever. Like they told the bouncer like he's good. Like, and he just goes in and like,
that's hilarious, bro.
Yeah, and so we emailed. It was at this club in PB basically.
Yeah.
And we emailed them and we were like, hey, they're like, let's do the show. And I was like, sweet, I'm down. So they posted me all like headlining show, like whatever. And then like day of, I guess like the owner's like, nah, you can't do it. Or yeah. So I don't know, like they had conversation basically with my management, but they basically DM'd me too. And they were like, hey, super sorry. Like we want to postpone, like once you're 21, 100% we'll have you back. But
do any clubs that like let you in underage, are they like watching if you drink or not?
No, not really. And I don't drink, so it's not like that big of a deal. I had one club though. They got mad at me because they didn't know before, and I had to like talk to the manager and the owner for like 2 hours basically, like. And I was like, oh, dude,
that's so funny,
brutal. And I was like, dude, like, well, because it's not even worth it to lie, because most of them you either get paid more than you get paid, so you have to do like a W-2.
Yeah.
So they have like your social security, and like, they're easily can find out if you're 21 or not.
Yeah.
Or W-9 or W-2, one of the two. And so and then you get screwed no matter what if you lie about it. So it's just better to be like.
I think it's way better to be honest. But I kind of was asking because I could see it where it's like you come in. Actually, you know why I was asking is because I worked for Marco, and he had gone to clubs when he was 20 because he's like. He has followers, and he was telling me like some clubs would just be like passing him bottles. They just don't give a fuck.
Most of them don't give a fuck. Most of them don't give a fuck.
That's funny.
Yeah. Most of them will be like, "Oh, here's your table with your bottle, sir." And then they're not. Yeah.
But it's smart that you don't drink because you don't want to end up like getting in some.
Well, it's also like I've done some stupid things in the past. I'm gonna say too much.
Don't say it. Don't incriminate yourself.
Done some stupid things, but then I've also had like friends. Like I remember one of my friends who's like really like a really big producer.
Yeah.
And he gets absolutely smashed, shit face, and all these guys are like like super cool fans. Are like, hey, can I get a photo? Hey, can I get a photo? Like, love your music. And he's just like. Oh, just like, you know what I mean? Like, not, and it's like, oh, dude, that's not a good look. That's like really not a good look. You feel bad because these guys like pay like whatever, 40, whatever it is to go see your show. And then you're just like, you're like incoherent and can't even like talk to anyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I try to stay away from it a little bit, especially when I'm playing shows.
Yeah. I'm 22. I actually don't drink anymore. I mean, I don't know. That's like weird. I don't really come out and say that because I'm not one of those people who like identifies as sober.
Yeah.
No, I just like generally, the less I drink, the less I like drinking. It's like weird.
Yeah, well, for me, it's like the less I drink, the more productive I feel.
Yeah.
So it's like, I remember like, obviously like mornings after, just like, oh,
dude,
like,
you just,
and then you just don't
guilty.
feel, and then it's like, fuck, I didn't do like what I needed to do to like,
Run your interview, Judge.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Don't want to bust up your shot.
So I feel that 100%. Productivity levels, like, for me is most important.
You know, I thought about this question when I was driving to you, and I was like, this would be an interesting thing to talk about. Why do you think people go to clubs?
I mean, for everyone, I feel like it's a different reason. For me, obviously, it's like, oh, I get to see like that artist that I looked up to, the music. For me, it's like a lot of, and at the same time, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's like, I know it's weird because a lot of guys will come in and be like, oh, you have a table, can I come with you? Like, will there be girls on the table? So like half of it's like, oh, I want to get with girl. Like, you know what I mean? And then other half, maybe just get, not even half, like the other 20% just to get shit faced, I guess.
The answer that like I had come, because I was thinking like, or how would I answer this, is I think that most people go to clubs, or you could extend that out to like parties, to like bars and stuff. I think most people go to find fast love. It's like they're like, how
instant gratification.
Yeah, how can I get a dose of love? Whether that's like sex, whether it's dancing with someone on the dance floor, whether it's like meeting friends. It's like chasing fast love. I don't know. That's like how I see it. I think there is like rare exceptions where it's like maybe it's an artist you really like, you go to see that artist. I mean, for you, you're the DJ. But I guess I was curious about your perspective because...
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's different for everyone, but I mean, if I'm just going to a club, for a club, like it doesn't happen too often because, I mean, most of the time I'd rather try to like DJ, like, you know, create a cool experience out of it. But I mean, I guess if all your friends are going, then it's like an experience to like go have fun and stuff, so...
It's funny. I have a friend, Jack Bratz. I interviewed him a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
And he's a DJ, and he really is set on changing party culture. So like what he wants to do is bring family values to DJ sets. And like,
how's he planning on doing that?
Well, one of the examples he gave was that he went to Stagecoach, was like a country music festival, and one of the artists, I don't know, some country singer, they like brought out their wife on stage, and they were having like a moment on stage, and so he was doing like research, and he found out that like a majority of DJs, like even the old ass ones, aren't married.
Really?
And I wonder, I thought that was kind of interesting.
I mean, that does seem crazy. I mean, I guess that makes sense because like a lot of DJs, if you're really like quote unquote making it as a DJ, you're touring like 24/7.
Girls
love and I mean, like just around more so club culture than like concert culture. Like club culture is obviously like more associated with like drinking, hooking up with girls, like all that stuff, and you're just surrounded with that level of like.
I know that's
compared concerts obviously still have that, but like way less to a degree than I would argue than clubs.
There's like been a couple times I went to San Diego State. There's been a couple times where the frats make so much money that they will buy these really expensive DJs. So like, I know I'm trying to think of some other frat. I know that
didn't like Chris Lake play
Chris Lake
or whatever.
Came. And I know like because I go there and I follow a bunch of girls, but like. He was on every girl's story, and I'm just like, damn, like, and I know a lot of those girls probably had no idea who he was.
No idea.
I had the luxury at my frat because Goodfella, you know, he was in my frat, and so
really,
Disco Lines performed at my frat, which was like that's really crazy.
Wait, he was in your frat?
No, he performed. Goodfella was in my frat, so Disco Lines.
Goodfella's really good friends with my management. Yeah, they're like boys. They went on like a trip together and shit.
You guys should do something together.
I've actually never met Goodfella.
I think I could introduce you. I could set you up because I mean I know him decently well. So
yeah, his music's popping off right now.
He just I think Disco brought him to the EDC, which like which is crazy.
I saw he also had a song with this singer. Or not singer, this other DJ named Tsunami, I think her name is. Yeah, and then he got to go on stage with her as well, I think.
Maybe that's what it was. I don't know why he was there, but I was like, damn, that's big time.
That's crazy. That's crazy. How was Disco Lines live?
I mean, it's probably not at all like what his real shows are, but it was
just fun.
Well, I mean, like, dude, it was so like.
It's a good time.
Everyone was. That's the thing is I don't really know DJ culture. I'm sitting here and I feel like I people might think I do, but I don't. Like I literally know you, Goodfella, who are like two of my friends, and then I know Disco Lines, and that's about like I've heard Chris Lake and whatnot, but I mean, so in my eyes, it was the best show I ever been to because I had enough. I haven't been.
That's like the one thing now too with like DJs, like house music, so like whatever, and a lot of people are like trying to become DJs, which is awesome. Like I don't hate it at all,
especially at college.
Everyone's, which is fine. Like I don't diss that at all. But then they're like, yo dude, like how do you do it? I'm like, for me DJing was never like, oh I'm gonna DJ. Like for me I was like 11-year-old kid, I was like, dude, Mark Garrick's sick, I want to make music. So it was like progression of like making music, and then they're like, I know, because I know guys that are just, which is, I don't dislike, if you want to become a DJ, dude, like, all for it. Like, that's amazing. Like, super sick. Like, if you need help, like, let me know. But I think people, like, kind of diss the fact that it's to become, like, a quote-unquote, like, or, like, make it, you have to make your own music. You have to, like, make your own music, and you can't just, like, spin, I think. So I think that's, like, the other thing that's kind of, like, grown from DJing, like, 15 years ago to DJing now is, like, DJing now means like you have your own music to like show to the world instead of like just DJing other people's records.
That is interesting. My dad's like one of my dad's best friends was like a big time DJ, but that was like before the technology era, and he would show up to clubs with like briefcase, like
that's wild,
suitcases full of CDs.
Yeah.
And he would put one on, and then while it was playing, he's like looking for the next one, and he puts it on. And then
that's so gnarly. That's so gnarly.
Yeah. Are you scared at all about like AI? Because I feel like with house music and EDM specifically, it's gonna be like there's gonna be services where people just like click a button and a song produces.
Well, I mean, like I think I know the only reason I say that is because like. Well, two aspects of it. From an artist standpoint, no, because if I'm let's say I'm like Calvin Harris.
Yeah.
You're going to want to see Calvin Harris because that's like his music. And like, it's like Calvin Harris is never going to go extinct in terms like no one's going to play Calvin Harris shows. Like Calvin Harris is going to play Calvin Harris. So from an artist standpoint, no, because if you're making music that people like and people want to listen to, like they're going to come to your shows.
Yeah.
From like a DJ standpoint, still kind of no, because I feel like people want like that human interaction, like that someone to look up to. Like, I mean, that's the difference between like a bar and a club almost. You have someone performing, whereas like a bar is like, they just play music.
I guess I completely agree with you, but I guess where I would see like the maybe difficulty in it is that is not with the people who've already made it. Because I think once you make it, people like attach to you and your personality, and it's like that's where the experience comes in.
Yeah.
But I feel bad for a lot of like DJs who are up and coming and they're making their own music, and then someone else is just like AI training, and they're just hitting a button and their song...
you mean in terms of like the mixing, like AI mixing for them?
Yeah, in terms of like taking away the creation of the art, where it's just like, hey, study all Tobias Williams songs and make me a Tobe Williams song. And then all of a sudden that person has a song just as popular as you, and they put 1 month of work into what you've put 10 years in.
I mean, I guess potentially. Yeah,
I don't think it's here yet.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. I mean, like I said, like for me specifically, like the reason I started was, like I said, when I was like young and I enjoyed making music. So even if that is the case, I don't think I'm going to stop making music or stop working towards that goal just because someone else is using AI. Like I do it because like I said, like I enjoy making music. I enjoy the process of doing that. It definitely will bring more competition for sure though. It'll definitely like spice up the game, and you'll see like people get like all pissed off because like all these kids are like quote unquote posers. They're not making the music, and then other kids are like actually. So yeah, I mean, I guess.
I mean, you bring up a good point though, that like I think you were implying that there's no point to get pissed off because you can't control it.
What are you gonna do? What are you
can't
like?
Control it.
That's only gonna piss you off more, and it doesn't help yourself. Like all you could really focus on is like your own craft, your own art, whatever you're doing. Like you can't really focus on what other people are doing. So there's no point.
I 100% agree. So I have another question though. We've been really drilling into the music, but you are a D1 soccer player, and you did do rugby. It looks like you're going to play rugby for college team as well.
So I played D1 soccer for 2.5 years. And then, I mean, I've always grew up playing rugby. So I think I'm going to finish out my last year and a half of college and play some rugby.
So I have a question though. When you went to play D1 soccer, did you is the reason you're leaning into DJing because you had a song blow up, or is it like...
No, this is like,
I know you keep mentioning you did it when you're young, so I guess I do understand that.
No, yeah. So for me, like soccer was like more so my life than music is now, I would say. Soccer was like, I mean, all I did was like play soccer. Got the scholarship, loved soccer, played in college. The environment wasn't great, but I still like loved playing the sport. And then I ended up getting like 3 more concussions in college. I've already had like 3 prior. So it was like really gnarly, and I had to stop playing for a while. And then I got back into it, and it like wasn't the same. And I was like, okay, like this is not like, if I want to do something, I want to do something really well. And like nothing was really going, like my music wasn't going well, my soccer wasn't going well, like school wasn't going, so like nothing, it was all like, so I basically kind of like took the back burners on soccer for a bit. And then my coach was like, dude, you gotta play, you gotta stop playing, whatever, like you gotta make a decision, you gotta focus on, and I was like, I'm like, I love playing soccer, like it was a great thing for me, but like at that point, after 2.5 years, I was like, okay, I'm gonna step out from this, like I'm gonna focus on other things, like, so it was a combination of like a couple of things, but I would say the success on music had nothing, because the song blew up like a year and a half before I chose to stop playing soccer, so it wasn't like, oh, I'm blowing up now, like, but even then, like I don't see like none of my other songs have really done well. Like I think quote unquote like blowing up or like having it like successful career whatever is like consistency, like I said, in terms of like music, and one song doing well I don't think is like a metric of that.
I mean, I would argue as like someone who doesn't know as much as you that you've had multiple songs do quite well.
Okay, thank you. No, I've been lucky. I've been super lucky to have like
I know what you're saying.
One
is like so much higher than the other, but I
mean, I have 2 songs that basically did pretty well, and then I mean, other songs I don't like. Like I said, like I don't think numbers the amount of streams you get like determines success. Because I would even argue like I have this one song that's 5% of the amount of streams as Deep Youth.
Yeah.
But like I think more of like a strong following around that song. I get more people DMing me about the song. More people like, oh, this is sick.
What song is it?
It's called Genesis.
Genesis. Yeah.
So it's like it's like it almost is like a similar kind of vibe as Deep Youth, but a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
And I've had like you can see based on Spotify how many times people like the number of fans or serious fans per song and who listens. And like the metrics are technically stronger with Deep Genesis because more people are continually listening to the song like every day, whereas like if you listen to Deep Youth maybe like once a day or whatever.
Bro, that's crazy. That's such a good soul wealth answer. It's like if not you're valuing on yourself on like the art you really like more than like the views.
Yeah.
But the other thing that you said that is interesting because I've never had this broken down to me in terms of music, but I talk a lot about on YouTube is that when I tell someone, I'm like, bro, if you want to see if someone's successful, go read their comments. Don't look at their views, but if you read their comments, because I know people will get like 1,000 views on a video, but they'll have 100 comments that are like, dude, I relate to what you're saying. I was thinking the same thing. And it's like, if you ever end up selling merch or selling a show or selling a product, those are the fans that are going to buy it. Those are the fans.
And even if you have like 100,000, but like 4 comments, that means nothing.
Yeah, there's this trend at VidCon where they had these giant auditoriums for all the biggest.
Got a little bee on your neck. Oh shit! Oh, it's on your pants now. Here you go.
Oh, bro, like that was so weird. He like didn't fly away. He just fell on the ground. What the heck? But what was I saying?
VidCon.
Yeah, there was this thing where the people who set up VidCon, they had these huge auditoriums for all these TikTokers with millions of followers, and they were empty.
Dude, that's wild. Well, who wants to go?
Because their fans they're not, it's not a real connection. It's like you had a bunch of viral videos, so you have a following, but it's not like, you're not saying, like, generally the people you relate to, it's like, I don't know as much with like DJ music because there's no vocals, so you should actually enlighten me on this. But generally when you like feel a deep connection to some artist, it's because like they said some real shit and you can relate to them. It's like, think about like Juice WRLD. How many people love Juice WRLD? Because they were like depressed and they're like, dude, this guy's saying what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And it's so it's
and it's like, it's almost like a connection on another level than just an enjoyment. Like,
yeah. And a lot of time the connection doesn't even come from the art they're making. So a lot of time maybe you love a song by someone and then you go watch an interview and you're like, wait, they have the same inspiration that I have. And like now I relate to that person even more. And is there kind of a thing like that with like how do you create that like deep connection? I mean,
it's kind of weird because on every artist, like, because obviously like the goal, right, is to like create that audience, create that fan base, right?
Yeah.
So you are able to connect with all these different people. And some artists, I'm like, I don't understand like how you got the connection, but like that's dope. And then other artists, I would say at least for me, like my artist, quote unquote, like I'm like number one fan of like I said, Martin Garrix. That's who I like, grew up. And for me, it was like he was, when I was watching his videos, and I still do, he was like the youngest kid. Like he was like this 17-year-old, and I was like, damn, he's only a little bit older than me. Like, and like he made, and everyone else was like these like big, like David Guetta and big DJs, like made all this like world-renowned music and stuff. I was like, yo, it's sick. Like I'm like young and he's young. Like I can make music because like he's young, he makes music, and like so that was kind of like the impression that he like put upon me was like, oh my gosh, like it doesn't matter if I'm 16 or 15 or whatever, I can still like make a living and travel the world and make music and play like my music on live shows. So
that's,
I don't know, that it is like, it's always a continuous challenge as like an artist or whatever, like creating, how do you want to create like that?
Especially like when it's not so vocal based.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will connect with artists based on what they say in the song.
For sure. And there's no, and it's a different, like I would say it's easier for artists that do have that, you know, like you said, like the lyrics in your song, in your song that you can verbally like understand what they're trying to communicate.
Yeah. All the artists that I've looked up to most, it's because they said some shit in their song and then I was like, oh my gosh, I relate to what they're saying. But
there's certain artists though, I would argue that like you can like, I try to, there's certain ways I think you could bring emotion into your track. Like if you look at like Rufus to Soul, it's like very like emotional, melodic. You can like kind of almost like takes you on a journey. I know that sounds so like cliche, but like if you listen to like a full album or like full, like
you're right though.
You can kind of like really like feel like but it's not. I would say it's harder to imitate that feeling through just mute. It can be harder to imitate that feeling. I would say it's like very possible, but I mean that's what like separates like good music to like amazing music, great music.
I think you're right in the sense that it is definitely harder, but what you described is 100% true. Like there's people who will die by Rufus Du Sol because it made them feel something that no other music made them feel.
Which I would argue, say like I love Rufus Du Sol, I love Odessa, like all that stuff is like I would say like massive inspirations for myself as well. And
I would still say those artists, even without vocals, I would say each of them have their own unique message.
100%.
Whereas like I was looking into Sound Holo because he just did San Diego, a show down there, and it's like he very much has a message with his music. Just because 100%. He doesn't have vocals doesn't 100%. Mean he doesn't.
I mean, some of his music does have vocals, but I agree. But as like overall, his music as a whole, I would say has a message. Yeah. Like and I don't think just purely lyrics kind of describe that message. I think his music and like the way he makes his music describes that message better than anything else.
Yeah. I did think of an example though, like outside of what we're talking about when we were saying is like Steve Aoki when he like cakes people in the face.
Yeah, like a little like something to like
where it's
make
like,
people remember.
Everyone knows that Steve Aoki throws cakes in your face, and it's such a random thing, but it's like no one else does it, so it's like it makes you stand out. Whereas, frick, I was gonna use another example, but I just forgot.
You're good. No, I mean I think I would say like every artist. Not every artist, but you want to try to have that thing that like makes and like finding that exact thing that like makes you kind of stand out from the crowd is like a challenge.
I remembered what I wanted to say, that you pointed out another good thing when you were talking about Martin Garrix is like a lot of times the people who truly inspire you are the ones that you can like see yourself in. Like a lot of nerdy kids will look up to some like streamer that they're like, oh, I played video games like this, or like that kid's a DJ and I want to be a DJ, but I don't relate to Steve Aoki because he's 20 years older than me or whatever. I can see myself like that. I think.
But I would argue that's also like, and I struggle with this because I hate, like, for me, like, I just want to make music and I love making music. And I've always like been told, dude, you need to make more content. You need to make more TikToks, more Instagram reels. Like, that's how you know, that's how you're going to be able to follow your music. And I'm like, dude, fuck that. Like, I don't.
You don't enjoy it. I get it.
But I mean, in fairness, I think there is that balance because I think like I think because it obviously helped Deep Youth, right? Like I made some TikToks, it did really well. That's how I got traction around the song. That's why I started getting a following on some of my music. So like I know it helps and I know it does well, but it's like it's finding that balance between like continually making that content. Yeah. And because like
I've thought about this a lot.
Yeah.
There's the way I think about it too is that like. This podcast Soul Wealth. I'm so focused on art and dropping the money and the metrics and the numbers that there's been times where I'm like, I feel the need to feel passionate about every single part of the process. And sometimes, because this is my whole mission, sometimes when I don't, I feel bad. I'm like, well, maybe I'm not actually passionate about it. But what I'm kind of like realizing is that like, no matter what career you choose, no matter if you choose the thing you love the most, there's always
going to be something that sucks.
There's always going to be something that sucks.
And
bro, if there was nothing that sucks, then everyone would do it. I mean, that's stand out.
Like, and it's also like even for music or even for making like podcasts, there's always going to be that period where you're like, dude, like I'm like I don't see myself how this is ever going to work. Because for me, I remember even still now, like I'll get it like probably like once a week. I'll be like, dude, there's like 10,000 new DJs, producers. Like, how the fuck am I better than all? You know what I mean? Like, what? And it's like, my TikTok's not doing as well. Like, my Instagram Reel's not doing as well. Like, my streams, like, I don't understand. Like, this isn't going to work out, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, obviously, you're going to, like, it's always, there's parts that are going to suck. And it's like I said, like, just to keep.
Dude.
Yeah.
It's interesting because sometimes, like, one of the things I do when I film the podcast is sometimes I'll this is when I'm in the failing mode, is when I hyper analyze. So that means I'm having a conversation with you, but I'm thinking, how will the audience perceive this later? And I know that whenever I listen back to the podcast, that it's always better when I drop that and I'm just having a conversation. And the other thing I would say about that is it's not is that if you're focused on the metrics or the views or the streams, then my happiness comes from, it's dependent on the wealth.
Yeah.
But the truth is that sitting here right now, I'm relating to you. I'm having a good conversation. I'm freaking happy. And that is soul wealth, is that we're having a conversation. There's a relationship being built right here. And the more, sorry to cut you off.
No.
The more you can take your, like, this is literally the message of the podcast. So that's why it's so important for me to say this. But the more you can take it out of the wealth metrics, the views, the money, the listens, the plays, and the more I can be like, dude, I'm sitting here making a relationship.
It's like putting your happiness in your own hands instead of like being like dependent on something that you can't control.
Exactly.
It's like being like dependent on like what you can control and like making making those controllables like define like
exactly
how you find happiness, how you find, you know, whatever it is that you're kind of looking for.
Dude, wow. I mean, this has been great. It's been a freaking great episode. I've been really enjoying it. A lot of laughs too.
Me too.
The other thing that I felt like I was doing a little bit is that I was so deep on this mission of soul wealth that I felt like I was holding back a lot of like jokes and like my personality, but
I think it can go hand in hand. I think it goes hand in hand though.
They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
And sometimes in my head I think they are. It's like I need to be the serious soul wealth guy.
Dude, well, same thing for me with music. It's like, dude, I need to be this cool like DJ with glasses on and like pump out beats and like, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be like that at all. Like it doesn't, you know.
They're not mutually exclusive. Yeah, it's like I can crack dumbass jokes.
And
still teach people about life. And actually, I think it's probably a better way because it's probably you relate to more people that way.
Well, I mean, I saw your other videos, the dinners and stuff that you did with 20. Like that's like I think that's super rad, and I think you like putting your personality like that, like it connect with a lot of different people.
Yeah, I'm all about like relationships and just the more. I mean, I think that in our social media world, and I kind of agree with you on. It's funny, we came to this conclusion that like there's parts of every career you're not going to enjoy.
Yeah,
so maybe
for sure.
It's the making the reels or making, and to me, in everything I've done, whether it's YouTube or the podcast, and I cut clips and I put it, that's the part I enjoy the least every time.
The shorts or whatever?
Because it just feels like I'm doing the same shit everyone else is doing. And it's like,
But it's hard because like a lot of people like to get, like they have such short attention spans, so to get them to listen to like the greater like message of, we might talk like say like 10 hours on like how to become, you know, happy or focus on like what you want to do, whatever, and taking a clip of like us doing a stupid joke will like get the attention, so they actually, so it's like
you're right. And what I was gonna say about it is that as much as I hate doing it and I don't enjoy it, the other thing is everyone else is doing it, so by not doing it you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. And I make the same I make the same comparison to using ChatGPT for homework. When people are like, I don't use AI for homework, which is funny. I dropped out of school, so I'm not facing any consequences saying this, but I'm like, dude, you're stupid if you don't use it because everyone else is using it and you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage.
I mean, I don't know if I 100% agree with that. but no, I mean, in fairness, for me, I think ChatGPT is like a tool for like your productivity. Like, I mean, I use it for, I mean, pretty much a lot of my, like everything I do. It like helps, it can help, it helps basically expedite whatever thing you're doing. So it makes that process easier. And
actually, to touch back on the AI thing we were talking about earlier, like I'm sure there's going to be moments where you like use your artistic talent with AI to make the best possible.
Is there AI to make music now?
There is, bro. I guarantee you. I could give you 100 websites after this podcast ends.
I would want to see how like the quality of it.
There is AIs where you can hit a button and it will generate like an instrumental beat.
Really?
But I don't.
I know the AI for like voice stuff. Like mimics like. Bro, I see all the youth Instagram videos of like Joe Biden like fuck you Trump or whatever, like suck my dick or something.
The funniest thing about this though is like, I mean, you probably wouldn't want to do this because you'd face like legal. But if you wanted to blow up as a DJ, the thing I would tell someone, anyone who wanted to blow up as a DJ, I was like, make your best song and then go put like, use an AI and put Trump's lyrics over it. And then post it to TikTok with the Trump lyrics and post it to Spotify like without it. And so it's like people fall in love with the instrumental and they go over and that's like I think it's
because it like draws the attention.
It's a great marketing, but it might be pushing. I know I saw.
Do you think you'd be pushing legal action with that though?
I think with someone as big as Trump, probably not. And especially if you only keep it on TikTok and then on...
Yeah, if you put it on Spotify,
I mean, you should try it. You should try it.
Like an instrumental and then put like a vocal or like whatever with
like literally
over it.
Like I'm thinking like Malibu, like something like Malibu, and then you literally post it to TikTok, but it's Trump being like, down in Malibu tonight. And you know people are gonna fucking love it. I actually think it's a smart
And then
marketing.
put like the, what is it, like the bobblehead of like him singing it or whatever.
I mean, dude, if I were you, but I did see, and I don't know if this is true, I saw Drake posted something on his story where it was like a Ice Spice Munch cover and Drake AI. So basically someone took the Ice Spice, which is like a super sexy girl song, and they made Drake sing it.
Oh,
and it's like...
Was it Munch?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's hilarious. Drake put it on his story and he's like, this is the final straw AI. And I can't find the song anywhere online, so I think he literally like...
Just got it deleted.
Yeah, I'd be worried. I hope... I probably don't... I don't think he would actually take the time to sue, but I mean, I guess it's possible.
Yeah, I mean,
Someone like Trump, though,
but I've seen so many videos on Trump, so I can't imagine I'll get like...
No, dude.
He has too many other problems to deal with right now.
Especially if it's just on TikTok. Like, I think if you're putting...
Instagram Reels, do you think I would get screwed too?
No, I'm thinking, when I say that, I'm thinking just like Apple Music or Spotify.
Then you get screwed, yeah. Like, yeah.
Dude, I actually...
SoundCloud, it could go on SoundCloud.
Oh, for sure. But I'm like dead ass think you should try something like that as a marketing technique, because it's just...
What do you think the best marketing stuff for you that it's like worked well for you, or have you seen the best success in?
Dude, I mean, marketing a podcast it's weird because it's like, usually people only start a podcast after they've already done something else. So they're like a big time YouTuber and then they start a podcast. So they're an entrepreneur and then they start a podcast. But because of short clips, I no longer feel like I have to.
You're at a disadvantage though. You're not at a disadvantage with that.
I actually, and I think that compared to a lot of people, I'm at an advantage because I have so many friends. Like, dude, Carlsbad breeds like a lot of successful people.
Unreal. Like people that you like be like, damn, this kid's like, like just random like success.
Actually, let me ask you something, because I know this is something I deal with, and I'm curious if it's something you deal with. Is we have had so many kind of people succeed from Carlsbad in the sense that we had all these kids who went to the Hype House. We had the band, the Happy Return. They're like popping off. The Sunroom kids.
Sunroom's going crazy right now.
Sunroom kids. We have you. And we have like Julian Sane. He's a first round quarterback.
Yeah.
We have so many famous kids from our high school. And do you ever feel, I know I feel this, that with you included, sometimes I feel like just statistically it seems like more people can't succeed. And I'm like, dude, am I going to be the freaking outlier? But I know that's like...
No, I mean, dude, oh, I agree. Like, I remember I was with, who was I with? I was with like these girls at my school that I was, at my old school, GW. Yeah. And I think they were listening to Sunroom or something. I was like, dude, no way. Like, I went to high school with all those kids. Like, that's crazy. And I was like, damn, bro. Like, I hope I better be like making music someday. And people are like, damn, he went to my high school like the same way I said that to Sunroom. But yeah, it feels weird.
I think people are, to be honest, because I'll be straight up with you. Like, I've definitely sat in like a car with my friends and played your music and like, dude, no way. Like, it's not so much like, I went to high school with this because I do consider you like a friend. Your friends
for sure.
My 100%. Friends. But it is like, I'm sure there's other kids who like went to Carlsbad who don't have the connections to you that I do. And they're probably like, dude, this kid went to my high school. Like some kids who love house and they're like, Tobe Williams went to I bet it exists.
Dude, that's sick. That's sick. I remember, dude, the biggest thing, like I can literally like remember like it was yesterday. I was in DC, and there's like this club in DC called Echo Stage. It's like this really big like venue club, and this guy came out. I was with two of my buddies, and this guy came up to me and they're like, oh, like you Tobe Williams? And this was the first time it ever happened. I was like, oh, you Tobe Williams? I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah. I was like, and he's like 26 or something. Like he was way older. He's like, dude, I fuck with your music. I was like, thanks, bro. I really appreciate it. He didn't ask for like a photo. He didn't ask for anything. He was just like, oh. And I was like that moment, I was like, dude, this is someone listens to my music. Like that's like, I thought it was the sickest thing. Like some random person like listened to my music, and I was like, I remember for like the next week, I was like, dude, this is so sick. Like this is so sick.
Bro, I think that's like the sad thing about what you just said is that there's gonna be a day where like so many people say that to you that it doesn't hold the same weight.
Dude, I don't know. It still to this day like holds.
But you haven't had that. Like, you wait till you go to EDC. But I hope that you think back to this conversation and think back about that moment, and you try to treat the truth is, basic economics, the more you have of something, the less it's worth.
For sure. But I think the biggest thing for me is like, it kind of goes back to like what I was saying before, is just like, for me, like, I was a kid just like making music, and then now it's not necessarily like the shows, I think maybe might affect me less in terms of like, obviously I want to play like as big a show as possible, but I think the connection that people have to like my music like matters 10 times more than me because it's like I like put all this time and effort into like making music, and it's like, oh, someone can connect with it. I'm like, for me, like, that's like the coolest thing in the world. It's like, oh, that's amazing. So
are you saying that like rather than the act of actually playing a show versus like someone?
No, I'm saying because like obviously I know you just said like in 10 years, like if you wouldn't have it for like all the time, like you're gonna get over it. And I'm like, obviously like statistically like that is supposedly true, but I think more so like I hope to God I never like get over that feeling. I think I'm gonna, because like I said, like for me, like that matters. Like that's like the biggest thing in my head that matters to me is like how people connect to my music. I think like the size of shows, like you said, like if I play like 100,000 people, actually I don't know, that's 100,000 people is a lot of fucking people. So I think a really important metric, I think by nature, the more you have of something, the less it's worth to like. Yeah. But I do think a really important aspect, which you've done well on, is making art that's true to you. Because generally, if someone loves you for something that's not true to you, then the reaction's not going to mean as much. Where it's like, if someone's, again, let's go back to like the example of dancing on TikTok. Yeah. And some girl comes up to this girl, is like, I love your TikTok dances. But they know like in their heart, that's not like it doesn't hold value to them because it's not like super big, like it's just something that went viral. Whereas like you're saying you held back songs because they didn't mean enough to you. Yeah. And like, that's cool because when you do release a song and it means a lot to you and then it means a lot to someone else, that's like an instant bond. Yeah. It's like, like for me, it's like all that work. Most of the time you like never see anything come out of it. Or like, let's say you make 100 songs, like, and you release 5 of them, like all those other 95, like you do hours and hours of work for like nothing to come out of it. Yeah. So to like see your kind of like your work come to like fruition or whatever, and like people be like, oh, this is sick. Dude, like it's like, I can't wait for a moment like that. I mean, I've had a lot of like comment moments where someone will DM me and they'll be like, I really like what you're doing, or they'll like comment, and that shit gets me hyped. Yeah, that's what it's unreal. Yeah, and I'm really, I'm trying to slow down and enjoy it because I know there's going to be a day where someone walks up to me, and there's going to be a day where a group of people walk up to me, and maybe I'll do a live show somewhere. But I mean, it's cherish it. I could see you doing Casey Neistat used to go and like do like auditorium tours and like talk to people about like. I would love to do that. I could totally see you doing that. Even soon, like I could see you talking to people about making content or YouTube or how to grow a business or whatever. Like I could definitely see that. Yeah, I looked into keynote speaking because I think that's a really cool thing to do. And dude, actually, I meant to talk to you about something earlier, and then I kind of tangent off, but it was the idea of when you were talking to me about the dinner party I threw for the strangers. Yeah. Is that like now so many people, and again, another motivation for the soul wealth thing is so many people, because of social media and relationships they can have online, they're like scared to make in-person friends. It's like everyone is subconsciously comparing themselves to everyone online. So like back in our parents' age, people were a lot less afraid of rejection because there wasn't so much comparison. Everyone is flooded with comparison. They're flooded with like a lot of people like wouldn't say yes to a podcast just because they feel like uncomfortable sitting down in person. That's crazy. And I mean, and it's weird because I'm kind of getting to the point where all my friends are like entrepreneurs or people like me, and they're all like kind of people who talk to strangers. But it's also like the biggest thing I've noticed is like who you surround yourself with too. Yeah. Like surrounding yourself with people that are like open-minded or like quote unquote entrepreneurial or have like these different paths, or like even for me, it's like I just like to surround myself with people that are ambitious and like to like working hard towards a goal, whether that's whatever that is. And I think that kind of like helps that sort of like problem, I guess, as you were saying. I was going to say though, like,
well, that's the thing. It's like, I feel fine.
Yeah.
All my friends are doing something,
Yeah.
and I know you probably feel fine. I mean, clearly you're sitting here, you're a great speaker, but it's like, I try to like empathize with the listeners, or like I don't want to call them the average person, because it's not that I'm better than them, but like a lot of people, I know this is a big issue. Like loneliness is bigger. And
but I would say even for me, like I've definitely like struggled a little bit with loneliness as well, just because like it's easy to get isolated, especially now.
Let me ask
super easy to get isolated.
A question of really, I ask a lot of my guests this question. Do you feel like the more you become the person you want to be, whether that's a DJ or soccer player, do you feel like the more you become the person you want to be, the less you relate to people?
No. I would say the more I become like whatever I want to be, like the more I'm working towards my goals, I would say like, I don't know.
Well, I'll answer it and you can listen. And the reason I would answer yes, and the reason is that like let's take the classic path. You graduate high school, a majority of kids go into college. So I enter college with all these kids. A majority of kids don't do YouTube. So the second I do YouTube, I am now in a YouTube community. I can meet other YouTubers, but I relate a lot less to people now because I'm doing something that a majority of people aren't doing. Now I drop out of school. The percentage of people who drop out of school to do YouTube, even less.
Oh, so you're just,
like, but it's not like, I'm not saying in a depressing way.
No, not at all.
The quality of my relationships
are unreal.
Are way better. But I relate to less people.
Yeah, I guess I understand. I understand what you're saying. But like, yes. So yes, I would say yes and no. I would say like, obviously the more I work towards my goal, the more I'm going to meet people that are on the similar journey and are, because obviously when you're like, let's say you're in high school, right? And you're about to go to college, like you're able to connect with a very wider group of people, but you also don't really know what you're doing. Your perspective is a lot, like wider, and you're like, I don't really know what I want to do. And like, as you grow up and you work towards more of a goal, like obviously that perspective or that goal is kind of gets tighter and tighter, and you understand what you want to do and how to work towards that goal and stuff. So I would say yes, like I do kind of find, meet more specific people that are working towards my goal. And so, yes, like some of my other friendships might dwindle away just because like their path is this way and my path is another way. So I would agree in some.
I wonder if your answer is affected by the fact that a lot of your pursuits are sports, and sports come with like a built-in community.
Yeah, it definitely does. Definitely like it's always been the easiest for me to relate to people, like my teammates. Have always been like the easiest. Like
dude, I miss sports so much. It's such like an unbeatable bond. You're just, cause like the closest way to like get, or the best way to get close to someone is like suffering together. It's like families are close because they go through a lot of suffering together. Sports teams are close because you go through a lot of suffering together.
For sure.
Even like fraternities and the idea behind hazing, it's like you're making the ideas.
I mean, I'm in a frat, and so, or I was in a frat, and I feel that 100%. Like, once you're that struggle together, like brings you closer.
That's like the whole concept behind it.
But also, sorry, I just quickly remember something. Going back to the friends thing or like the relationship aspect of it. I would say it's almost now thinking about it, it's almost the opposite, because when I was younger in middle school and high school, and I made like music, I didn't like know anyone else that made electronic music. So for me, it was like, people be like, oh, that's sick, or oh, that's lame, like you're making EDM, like who listens to EDM? Like either way, whatever it is, like even the people that say it's sick, but like I couldn't really connect with anyone in high school because like no one else did it in middle school and high school. So like as I've grown up or like gotten older and done it more, like I've met 10 times more people. So for me, it's like I have been able to meet more people, because like as I've gone up, whereas like when I was younger, I didn't like have that support in that aspect of my life at all.
It's funny because I would again say the events aren't mutually exclusive, in the sense that I agree. I actually had I was way lonelier in high school than I am now.
For sure.
And I think that's because I have more purpose now than I did in high school. But I also just, I think it also goes back to like, the quality of your relationships is like the things I was so trying to find my value in having a lot of friends, and therefore I felt lonely. Whereas now, like I try to find my value in like in just people.
It's weirder.
Any type of relationship, as long as it's.
I feel like you understand this more as you get older.
Yeah.
And I'm not that I'm old, like,
yeah.
but like same thing as you said in high school. Like, I felt like I knew a lot more people or talked to a lot more people in high school, but I talked to probably 10% of the amount of people in terms of like quantity of people as I talked to in high school, but I feel like 10 times, not like 10 times less lonely.
Dude, I let you know exactly what you're saying. Like,
because like it doesn't, like at the end of the day, like being that, like you said, that close connection with someone.
Yeah.
But for me, it's not only like that close connection as a friendship, but like working with people that I'm really close with as well. And like having those like, even like 2 people, 3 people that like you work towards something with, or you work alongside, or have people help you. Like when you have that kind of support system in different avenues of your life, you, even if it's 1 or 2 people, that still like helps you and makes you feel like less lonely than.
Yeah. I think another interesting part of that, because I had the exact same experience as you as far as what you just said. And I think another interesting part of that is that the time where you're actually alone, so the time where you're not around other people, in high school, you're not as far down your path, so you kind of put a lot more value in like relationships. Whereas like if you're spending time alone in high school, you're like, well, I wish I could be with those people. I wish I could be with this girl. Or I wish I. And now it's like if you're spending time alone now, you're training, or you're making a song, or it's like you have more of a purpose, so you feel less lonely too.
Yeah. Well, for me also though, it was different. Because I played academy soccer, so I was like always had to leave school early, so I never hung out with anyone outside of high school, like outside, like after school. Like I never like, because I was always like, I would drive downtown San Diego to train, so it was like I had like 2 separate lives, and like I didn't have anyone, you know what I mean? I had no one, because none of my teammates went to high school, so it was like I was like hanging out with these kids in high school, like I'd hang out with you guys sometimes and stuff, and you guys would hang out outside, and you know what I mean? So it was like almost like I was in like 2 different worlds at the same time.
I did this. I actually want to say it because maybe you can relate to this, where they call it like being a floater, where I hung out with a bunch of different groups. So I hung out with the soccer kids, which you knew.
Yeah.
I hung out with the football kids because I played football. I hung out with the lacrosse kids because I played lacrosse. And then I had like some other childhood friends. And so I was a part of a bunch of different groups.
Yeah, dude, I feel that so much.
But they all only hung out with each other.
Yeah.
So they were all closer to each other than I was to them. I kind of came last in every group.
100%.
And it made
100%.
me feel quite lonely.
Yeah, I 100%. The biggest best friends I had 2, like, I would say like 1 really good friend growing up throughout middle school, and he didn't even go to my high school because like it was the same thing with soccer. Like I'd play with him outside, and then going back to high school, and like that's where like quote unquote loneliness came from. It's because it was like, oh dude, like I didn't know like who to hang out with or what to do. So like I hung out with you guys. I hung out with like some other soccer boys, and then I like some broadcasting friends, and it was like hopping around from group to group, and they would all do their shit together, and it's like.
So let me ask you a question going on that. Looking back, I think that loneliness was one of the best things that ever happened to me.
100%.
Because
100%.
a lot of people, and I might be making an assumption here, but a lot of people I see that didn't have that loneliness
struggle now.
They struggle now because they didn't find purpose in something else. Whereas I started creating content. I started working out, doing all these things that ultimately, in the long run, they paid off like multiples.
For me, I think like as you grow up, in terms of time by yourself, you're gonna have your time by yourself is only gonna increase. It's not gonna decrease. Like for me, like anything, like I would say most aspects of my life, I've had more time alone than I did before.
Yeah.
But I've been like more comfortable in like what I'm doing and who I am, and like that loneliness, that time of like I don't know who my friends are, but like realizing like that's okay, and that's part of growing up, and that's part of like learning and growing is like. Okay, like it's okay that I'm not with someone 24/7, and you kind of like get to grasp, and you're okay with some of the things you might have struggled with prior, and then people that didn't have that and had like these great friends and all this stuff, which is awesome. Like that's amazing. Like you should cherish your friends, and your friends are super important without a doubt. But I think some of those people might like definitely. I had friends like that struggled first year college because it's like, dude, like I don't, you know what I mean? It's just like a different environment. It's like hard for them to adapt to that.
We have a really good mutual friend, Danny, who studied
dude, I love Danny.
at our high school.
I missed you by a week.
He you did miss me by a week.
I missed you by a week.
But he said something really interesting, and this is gonna get dark for a moment, but I do want to talk about is his dad in high school died.
Yeah.
And he had a friend, his best friend, his mom in high school died. So him and his best friend both had a parent die, and they became super close, and they talked about this event a lot. And years down the line, one of the things Danny told me that I thought was so amazing is that he said when his dad died, he was a study abroad in our country, in California, and he had to go back to Spain. And when his dad died, he found out right before he got on a plane. And at the time, planes didn't have Wi-Fi, they didn't have anything. So he found out his dad died, he got on a plane, and he had to sit alone for 15 hours and deal with all the emotions. And he told me when I last saw him, that was one of the best things that ever happened to him, because he said on that plane ride, a lot of people, when they have something traumatic happen to them, they just want to distract themselves. They want to go, how can I be coddled by people? Can I be coddled by drugs or alcohol? How do I distract myself from feeling this pain? But because he had to sit there on that plane ride alone, he said he went through every emotion. He went through laughing, he went through crying, he went through happiness and sorrow. And he said that he felt like that plane ride, it taught him a lot about processing trauma. And he had a friend who, on the other hand, his mom died, and he didn't have this plane ride. And every single person in his life came to him and said, you can't be alone. You have to be with me. You have to do... They coddled him. They distracted him from dealing with it.
Didn't let him process it, and didn't let him help him deal with it himself.
And he said in the long run, that they're best friends, so they've talked about it a lot. In the long run, Danny felt like while he may have suffered on that plane ride, he ultimately had an advantage that he processed it much better because he was able to face that time alone. And I didn't deal with something nearly that dramatic, but I faced aloneness at a much younger age, and people are starting to face it now for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people faced it during COVID too, and that killed people. I know some of my friends that just miserable, I mean, I haven't had to deal with a parent dying. That's brutal. I've only had to deal with my grandfather dying, who was probably the second behind my parents, most important person in my life. But the biggest thing is for me was detaching and dealing with it by myself. Yeah. And letting myself process it. And then, kind of getting with my family. And
it's an interesting thing because generally when someone goes through something really traumatic, everyone wants to be that good person. They want to send them a text. They want to invite them to do things. They want to, and me and Danny were talking about this because it's interesting because that that's the good thing to do as a friend, but in a way you're distracting them from really facing it.
I mean, sometimes it obviously is good. I think it goes both sides. You need to be able to have time alone, but you also want to have, because I've gotten close with one of my best friends now from him being there for me because it's just wow, you cared and you spent time and made sure I was okay, and even though it took out of your day, you know what I mean?
You'll remember
so I think there's both sides. I think there's both sides of it. But I think there's also you want to having that time alone to reflect. Helps you kind of move on at this point.
It's certainly something when someone's there for you. It's certainly something that you'll remember
especially when you're in that traumatic. You'll always remember. Damn, that person was there.
I can literally name. There's people that I don't talk to at all anymore, who will forever have a seat in my success because they were there for me in my darkest moments.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know we're probably we need to wrap up soon because I think we both gotta go places. But I end every podcast, since this podcast is about soul wealth. Yeah. When you die, no one's gonna say Tobe Williams, biggest DJ in the world. No one's gonna say Tobe Williams, 5 million views on Deep Youth. What do you want people to say about you when you die?
That's good. Say about me or say
I'll give you an example. I want people to say, when I die, I want people to say that I made them feel important. That's something I really want. I want to be remembered as someone who made people feel important. I want to be remembered as someone who always took the time to call my friends and be there for them when they were down. I think most people's answers generally align with something. The reason I asked this question, I'll explain that, is that it goes back to the difference between wealth versus soul wealth. The reason I ask this question is because most people, when they picture themselves dying, they almost always drop all those wealth metrics. They don't say anything about money, about their legacy. They usually say, I want to be remembered based on some version of how I treated people.
Yeah. I mean, for me, similarly, like the biggest people that have had an impact on my life are obviously like my friends and my family. So I would want like, hopefully like be remembered by my friends as like a person that was kind of there for them. And then also a person that wasn't only there for them, but tried to make them better. I think you have friends that might be there for you, but might not be the best influence on you.
Yeah.
And I think it's about being that person that is not just there, but like makes a difference. And I think that's like important. And that's like someone I want to be, not just like I said, not just being there, but someone that's there and makes you a better person, bring something better out of yourself.
I will say, like seeing you, even like from a distance, because I know we're not like the bestest of friends, like it freaking inspires me. It's like, damn, that kid's making it for my high school. I want to do it. Something.
That's
so,
it. No,
so you already have that effect on me.
I appreciate it, brother.
But yeah, that's gonna be your bro. That was a freaking amazing podcast.
Thanks for having me. That was sick, bro. I appreciate it.
How long we did, dude. Oh, frick.